Ja, we zijn in de gelegenheid, dankzij Hard Life Promotion, om een interview te doen met, straight out of the US, met de heren van Ice Age, fantastische progband. En we hebben het genoegen hier met Jimmy Pappas, de gitarist en bassist Doug O'Neill. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you here at Rock of Ages on AFM in the Netherlands. It's a privilege. Thank you. All right, Ice Age. I was surprised because you guys having a new album. So, Ice Age? No way. They're still existing, but you guys go way back. I remember that you, the end of the 90s, beginning of 2000, you make 2 fantastic records on a Martin Cartner label. Can you tell us a little bit about that time, or perhaps about the beginning of Ice Age?
Sure, I can take that.
Yeah.
So Josh Pincus was the singer and keyboard player, and myself played in another band in college together.
Mm-hmm.
We met at Stony Brook in New York at university, and we played in a cover band, and then we started writing original music together. And we had a different drummer at the time, and we kind of got set together very early, and we were found that we were very compatible musically. Mm-hmm. We liked the same stuff. We liked the same bands back in the day. We liked progressive bands and bands like and heavy bands like Rush, Yes, King Crimson. We like Deep Purple, especially myself. Deep Purple, yes. Rainbow, mm-hmm. Thin Lizzy. Big fan of Thin Lizzy. Big fan of Scorpions in those days. I mean, there was a lot of bands, European bands that we loved, and a few American bands as well. And then at some point around like 91, 92, we decided to start working together and start writing songs rather than just playing on the music. And that was the beginning. We did it for a couple of years with from 90 to like 92 with our one drummer back then. His name was Doug Dyna. He was a really good drummer. And we put a couple of promos together, a couple of demos together under a different name. It was called Monolith at the time. Mm-hmm. And around 92, 93, I think it was like 93, we started looking for a different drummer. We got very serious about it. We put an ad in the paper, and then after like quite a long time, it took us about 6 months to a year, we found Hal Aponte, and then and that was really the beginning of Ice Age as you know it today. At that point, Hal's talent and musicality enabled us to start moving towards the progressive part of Ice Age.
Yeah, but that was actually in a time that in the 90s, like progressive wasn't quite popular. I remember that, of course, Dream Theater came with their big album, of course, with Images and Words, but it was all grunge or death metal, or was it not?
It was, yes.
Was it not?
You're right.
Was it not difficult to create progressive music in a time that it wasn't quite popular?
Absolutely, yeah. We were in the fringes, right? It wasn't a popular music to play. Mm-hmm. It wasn't at the height of the 70s where progressive kind of like rock became, in its early stages, infancy, became popular. And the only band that was around was Dream Theater at the point. And I know Josh was a very good friend of the original Dream Theater, Kevin Moore.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They worked together teaching at a local music store. And they also... back in the day, it was we got to actually hear early Dream Theater stuff before they got released because we're all Long Islanders. Actually, I took some lessons from John, and I knew John Petrucci as well back at the time. Mm-hmm. So we got to hear early Dream Theater music, Images and Words, before it came out.
Oh, nice!
And it was good. There were a lot of influences. It was a big influence to us, right? Yeah. Because we saw a band that wanted to do the same music we wanted to do. And the fact that they were signing, they were moving forward was very encouraging. Yeah. Which, like you said, in the middle of grunge, it was kind of hard to play the music we played. So.
Yeah. Yeah, but if a Dream Theater can, you also can make progressive music and make that popular again. So.
Yeah, that was validation, right? Images and Words came out and it did really well. So we were like, oh, maybe there is I mean, there are people out there that love this kind of music, right? And because there was no internet at the time,
No.
there was very little internet, so we didn't know how popular it was. So it was, it was good. That's how we got started, really.
Yeah. So, we move forward now to end of the 90s. And I remember myself, end of the 90s, progressive rock was back on track, actually. You had a lot of bands like you guys, and you had like Dreamscape or Dali's Dilemma, Vandenplas, all that kind of bands. And you guys were just perfectly fit in. How did you make the first album, and how did you come to the Naar label?
So that was another. We put a demo together with Hal and Aaron, the bass player at the time, around '97.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the songs that are, I think, on the demo that we presented, most of the songs except for one that were in the demo made the album. We put a demo together and we started circulating. At the time, Josh was taking lessons from Tony Harnell. Tony Harnell was the main singer for TNT.
Yeah.
That was a big metal band.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
At the time, I think they had like a couple of platinum albums, one or two. I don't remember exactly, but they were a pretty big band. And Tony Harnell was also on Long Island there at the time, so that's how Josh and him. He was teaching Josh at the time. So we gave him the demo and said, hey, this is what we came up with. And he was really excited about it. He was very excited about it. So he took it on tour with him at the time. He took the demo on tour, a few copies on tour, and then he gave it to, I think it was Mike Varney. He gave it to Mike Varney.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think that's how things got started.
Yes.
So at that point, the relationship started with Magna Carta, and that's what we started putting the album together.
Yeah, and the rest is history, we say then.
Yeah, the rest is history. Right?
Yeah. So Naar you had also bands like Shallow Gallery was on that label, I remember, and James LaBrie has his solo albums on that label.
Yes.
And I remember also here in the Netherlands, the album was very good reviewed at the time. So that was good. And then the second album, Liberation, and Dog was in the band back then, right?
Yeah, I joined actually 6 weeks before the album was released. So the album was completely done.
Okay.
And then I joined just in time to help support it.
Or for the first album?
The second album.
Oh, sorry,
Liberation.
the second album. For the second album. Okay.
So I joined in January 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And the album Liberation came out in March, the first week of March 2001.
Okay, so there was work to do for you.
Oh yeah, no, it was big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Aaron did a great job. One thing that doesn't really get mentioned too often, but I think is just an interesting, irrelevant fact is that Aaron was a lefty player and so am I.
Yeah.
So, like visually speaking, like that didn't change.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
We also had that album on the same station, on this station in 2001. We have a very long time in the business. So I remember I heard the album the first time, so I took it to the show.
20
it's
years
nice
ago.
to have it again.
Yeah. 20 years ago, can you imagine?
it's a long
Time goes
Yeah,
fast.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's why I look old.
Yeah. So, but Liberation, the second record, also on Naar label. So, how was the promotion for that album back then? How was the tour and all that time for Ice Age?
It was okay. I mean, I think it was very well received by the fans. The fans by that point really loved the band. So there was no tour support from Magna Carta. I mean, that was one of the biggest. I mean, that was not that Magna Carta was not that type of label, right?
No.
They'd like to put a lot of albums out from artists, but they didn't provide any support at all. It was pretty hard for us because we were a live band at the time. I mean, we loved playing live. And there was many bands in the label, even like local, like even like Dream Theater and all these other bands. And even though everybody was known within the label, no one was actually like working together.
No.
So it was kind of hard for us. So I mean, there was not a lot of support. Only like local festivals we got from people that love the band, right? I mean, we played. I think we played Power Mad. It's a big festival, and that's where we met Ken, which is the owner of the Colin label we work with.
Yes.
And I think he loved the band, and he hooked us up with Nearfest, and he hooked us up with quite a few other shows. People outside Magna Carta had really helped us out from a live perspective. So that was good.
That was good.
But from Magna Carta, we didn't get any. So I think that was the biggest problem we had, really.
Yeah, because at some point, Magna Carta fades away, and Ice Age fades away. We for many, many years, we heard nothing about Ice Age. That it was so silent, for so many years.
Well, I could tell you from my perspective. After we put our efforts into promoting Liberation, then the band was always writing and recording, and so we poured all our energy into that, and experimented a little bit with the song structure approach to do something that was still very musical and melodic, but didn't necessarily have to fit into that mold of what progressive is expected to be.
No,
as far as the more expansive movements and longer pieces. And then we did that for a few years, and as Jimmy said, with the lack of support from Magna Carta, it just got to a point where we felt like we hit a wall.
Yeah.
And when we got to that point, we decided to take a break. It was never like there were no bad feelings. There was no drama. It was just, it was never like a definitive conversation of, that the band is breaking up. It's just, we took a break. People in the band pursued other things. And I think Josh and Hal have also talked about the fact that I think there was always a feeling that we would get back together at some point, that there was unfinished business for us.
When the time is right, it will happen.
Yeah.
Yes. But you guys made an EP, right? A couple of years ago.
Yes, right. So when we did that, that's when we were in that phase of experimenting with the shorter and more direct approach.
Yes.
So we did a couple of self-releases that really were just very high quality demos. Jimmy, among having so many talents in the band, besides the songwriting and the guitar playing and the design of the logo and the covers, has also always been the engineer and the producer. So, what I'm calling demos, was to my ears, album quality.
Yeah.
And we did that. And again, it was all in the interest of could we go in this other direction?
Yeah.
And
what to do?
Maybe that would give us an opportunity to reach a bigger audience, and also to go after bigger labels than the independent prog labels like Magna Carta.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Dit is Rock of Ages.